guys, welcome back to another video. This is motivation for young Christians. Welcome back. Today we have a very, very special guest in the building. We're going to be learning about him, his company, and everything that he's doing within the school, from FAFSA to working with students. We just have a very amazing interview for you guys today. And we're going to start off with our very first question for you, Frederick. Question number one, who are you and what do you do?
Appreciate you having me, Esron, man. You do an awesome job just with your interviews. And I know we were chopping it up before this. Man, you starting at a young age. You got 6 years in the game already. So, man, keep it going. Keep it going. Excited for what you're doing. But my name is Fred Johnson. In the full time, I am the Senior Director of CA Next, the organization in New Orleans that helps to support students after they graduate from high school, regardless of what pathway they're on. So whether they're going to college, the military, a trade program, going right into the workforce, or still figuring out what they want to do, our organization still supports those students. So that's what I do in the full time. But in the part time right now, I'm a college speaker. I love talking to young people, high school students, college students about what it takes to be successful in college. So I enjoy it. I feel like that's what God put me on this earth to do, man.
And I know we both have the speaking aspect with us both being public speaking. That's one thing that we connected on. And then also on the student aspect, because as you guys know, in fall, I'm going to be starting my college education at Rutgers University because I'm doing a business major in leadership and management. So this is actually a very perfect fit because Frederick works with students after college, and I'm going to be going into that college field soon. So this is just a really just good connection. I thank him so much for being here. And with our second question, so what is Forth Education and what led to the creation of it?
So Forth Education is an educational consulting firm really meant to help students be successful in life after high school, whether that be college, whether that be career, whether that be identity. That's what Forth Education is. And really it came into existence from my full-time job. I really love what I do. I work with students. I help them to figure out one themselves. I help them to learn what it is that they truly want to pursue. And then of course, more formally, I help them get to and through college and get to and through that next phase of their life. And so I say, you know what? I love my job. I also wanted to start a business. And when you start a business, you want to start with something that both gives you passion or that gives you joy and energy, and also something that you're skilled and talented with. And so I love connecting with young people, love my job, and knew I wanted to have more of an impact. So I knew if I wanted to start a business, it should be something in the realm of helping students. So it's really an extension of what I do in my day-to-day, but it definitely involves doing more of the workshop, more of the group work than the day-to-day. So it still allows me to have that touch point with young people.
And that is so powerful because I always say to people that your talent is going to lead you to your dream. Mm-hmm. And that's a very important thing. Your talent is going to lead you to your dream. Whatever you're good at is going to take you straight into that direction of your dream. With you being a public speaker, it takes you to that direction of open up your own forum for education, and then working with students, working with kids. And I kind of want to do the similar thing in the future. I want to open up my own motivational organization that's going to be going into schools and talking to kids. So we're going to be putting them in contact with professions, from people from different professions, in order to like mentor them and lead them in the right direction. Because I'm from a Caribbean background, and you know the main careers for a Caribbean background is either the doctor, a teacher, firefighter, or anything in that area. But then a lot of people a lot of kids, a lot of teenagers want to do different careers. Either they want to get into public speaking, they want to get into designing, and these are the different careers. And sometimes they're not that active, they're not the resources, there's not that person that can mentor them and lead them in that right direction. So my organization is going to do exactly that. So my goal, aim is to start in one school and then kind of like spread it out. And then the ultimate goal is to take that and put it back home in Guyana, because I'm Guyanese, I'm from Guyana. So my mission is, once I get over here set, we got to take it back home, because I know home is where like we need it. So I'm gonna be going exactly in that same field with my career goal and opening up my own forum. And then when it comes to public speaking, what inspired you to get into public speaking?
Yeah, it's crazy. So I taught for 4 years, about 4 years, before I transitioned out of the classroom. And a lot of teaching is facilitating like workshops, right? You're teaching a lesson, you're trying to build skill in your students, you're trying to assess where they are and help grow them over time. I'm a huge fan of Eric Thomas. He's definitely somebody I look up to, E.T. the hip hop preacher. And so when I thought about it, it's interesting. My business has gone through ebbs and flows. So initially, when I started Fourth Education, the goal was, hey, I want to be able to support families and students directly. That's what I want to do. So help them with the FAFSA, help them with making college decisions. And so I started that. That was initially how I started. That wasn't gaining as much traction as I thought it would. And so I said, you know what? I'm seeing ET, I'm seeing him push his program, and there was this Facebook ad, Instagram ad, and it was a guy by the name of Mike Nelson. He's a great motivational speaker as well. And his ad said, hey, if you're trying to get into the speaker game, if you're trying to break into to education as a speaker, I have a program for you. So I looked into it, talked with him on the phone, really connected with him. He's another man of God, Black man, husband. And that call really resonated a lot with me. Where after that, I was like, okay, the speaking thing, I think I can do it. I think I can do it. So working with him, he really helped me to get my business off the ground, at least my speaking business, that side of it. And it's crazy. Now my business has gotten to a point where I'm pursuing both the speaking engagements, but also now going back into the direction of serving parents and family. So it's a little more holistic. I have a few coaches that have really helped me to figure out these different phases of my business, and now have gotten to a point to where I was like, okay, I know which baskets to put the eggs in to be able to grow my business and get the best traction. So that's the, I guess, long story short story of what inspired me to go into public speaking, really talking with somebody that I looked up to.
And I kind of have a different story. What led me into public speaking is bullying. Because once I first came over to America, I was able to experience bullying on the full hands. And after going through my experience, I just really wanted to encourage a student or just anybody in order to like just prevent anybody from like taking their life due to bullying, because that can be an end result to bullying. I wanted to make sure like I do my part, because I didn't have nobody in my corner saying that it's gonna get better, nobody in my corner to like really motivate me, and I wanted to be that for anybody, whether it's a student, a teen, an adult. I just wanted to be able to like save a life. That was my goal, just to save a life. So I started to put out videos and everything, and then that led into preaching, that led into me actually doing an in-person event, because I would say what you call a motivational YouTuber, motivational not motivational, a preaching YouTuber, because all of that I started on the online. I started on the internet base, and then I went into the church. Then I went into different events. So my bullying experience led me into public speaking.
That's a powerful story. I was bullied a lot, made fun of a lot, and definitely I'm kind of dating myself now, but YouTube wasn't really a thing when I was in middle school, elementary school. But of course, now everybody has access to the internet. But it would have been great to see a young man like yourself speaking on that, and especially from the spiritual standpoint. Like, I went to church, but it was more of a ritual, right? It's something you're supposed to do on Sundays. Really didn't have that connection to the church. So I commend you for the impact that you're having on young people, being able to increase their self-esteem and give them the confidence to stand up from themselves. Because bullies now, now that I'm older, bullies really, it comes from a place of them having to break somebody down to build themselves up. And so now knowing that, if I could talk to my younger self, I probably would have told him, look, man, don't worry about that, right? Because you're focused on the right things. And honestly, a bully, a lot of the times, once you ignore them, once you neutralize that, they lose that steam and energy once they see that you're not affected by what they're saying. So thank you for the content you're putting out there, because I know you've been able to help tons of young men and women overcome that bullying.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And one thing that I understand when it comes to bullying is that hurt people hurt people. Is that these people aren't like monsters, they aren't bad people. It's just that they're hurt inside and just don't know how to properly handle their emotions. So once I learned that, I looked at bullying from a different aspect. Because these aren't truly bad people. These are just people that
Right.
that is hurt themselves and does not know how to take out the hurt. Because I'm pretty sure you either see like the different films and movie where they break that down, where they really truly find out the core of what going on with that person. And majority of the time is that person is just hurt inside. And once I understand that, it was able to help me to not be hold grudges against people that bully, not to be angry and mad at them, because my bullying experience led me into becoming a bully. So I was bullied, then I flipped the script and I became the bully. And so I understand both aspects of being bullied and being a bully. But then later, at that point, I didn't understand like the reason behind it.
Right.
But I understood that my hurt led me into hurting other people. Same story for a lot of other people. The saying hurt people is very true. People who are hurt themselves, if you don't know how to handle your emotion, end up hurting other people.
It's real, man. That is real.
Now, with everything that I've learned and grasped over the years, I just continue to just pour that back into everybody, because these information is just useful. Like if you're hurt, out there, just go get some help, talk to somebody, so that way you don't project your hurt onto somebody else and just mess somebody else's life up. Because bullying can lead to suicide or somebody going to school and shooting the school up. It can lead to a lot of bad things. So it's just best that you handle your emotions. You understand what are your hurts, what are your pains, so that you don't project it onto other people.
Right. Right.
And along with the success that you achieve, a lot of people pay attention to that success. But me, I just love to hear about the obstacles and the things that really got you to where you are today. And that will lead us into our fourth question for today. What are some of the obstacles you faced during your journey?
And great question. One of the biggest obstacles that I faced is I dropped out of college, and it took me 7 years to graduate. So I started off as a pre-med biology major and eventually changed my major to education, but I waited way too late in the game to do it. Glad I did it. One of the best decisions I've ever made, but took me a while. So I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician because they make a lot of money. They work with kids, and I liked science. Science was my favorite subject at the time. But then the summer after my junior year, I volunteered in a hospital and did not enjoy the experience at all. Up until that point, I struggled a lot with biology, failed it 4 times before I passed it, bombed organic chemistry. And in order to go to med school, you got to pass all your sciences and you have to do pretty well in them. So I got to a point, I remember it like it was yesterday. I got to a point where I was taking this chemistry lab and I got my lab report back and it had another F on it. This is like the 3rd or 4th one in a row. And I'm trying, I'm telling you, I'm paying attention to what to do in the lab. I'm reading the instructions. My stuff is blue while everybody else stuff is green. Like my experiment is not going well. And I remember sitting in the hall and thinking like, man, what am I doing? Am I meant to be in college? Is college for me? Am I dumb? Because I had a lot of academic success in high school. And when I got to college, at least after my freshman year I had a 3.2 GPA. After that was when my GPA started to dip. I got involved, joined a fraternity, was in a bunch of different clubs, and started to prioritize the social side before prioritizing the academics. So all that kind of came to a head, and eventually I lost my scholarship. I was on a full ride at the University of New Orleans, lost that scholarship. And then after a while, changing that major pushed me back to being a freshman pretty much again. And after year 6, the federal government doesn't give you any more financial aid. So once I lost that financial aid, I had to drop out, work, get a job, save money, and get back in school. But that taught me a lot about responsibility. It taught me a lot about ownership, because it was my fault why I had taken that long to to get to that point in school. So I had to dig myself out of that hole, and it taught me a lot. So I would say that's probably one of the biggest obstacles that I've had to face in my life, and it taught me a lot.
And that's key, because one thing I always say with obstacles is that there's lessons in obstacles. And the fact that you were able to take those lessons, understand those lessons, and now from everything that you learned during the experience, you are now the place that you are. And the key thing is now those mistakes that you made, those obstacles that you go through, you can teach the student that and teach them to not make that same mistake. Because there's nothing wrong with changing your major, but then with changing your major too late, that's where the problem comes in. Because if you're in your third, fourth year, it's kind of like you can change your major around that time, but then it's like that's gonna set you back a little bit. Usually, I think if you change after your first year, you'll be in a really better place because you already did a 1 year in college. And then colleges kind of expect that, because in your first year, you're still adjusting to the college, and it's common for people to change your major after your first year. But once you get to like the second or third year, you're kind of gonna be put back a little bit. But it's just key that you were able to learn the lesson, and now you can teach other people that lesson in order to not make the same mistake that you made.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Okay to change your major. Better if you could do it a lot earlier than I did.
Definitely. And we also earlier we spoke about the FAFSA gigs. You mentioned that you teach students concerning the FAFSA, which would lead us into our fifth question. What are some of the common mistakes students make while filling out the FAFSA?
You know what? It's a great question. You wouldn't believe some of the types of mistakes students make. Some are really simple. They misspell their name. They mistype their social security number or their date of birth in there, and then they have to like resubmit it all over again. That's definitely one common mistake. Another common mistake students don't make is they don't add all the schools that they are potentially looking at going to. Like you get 10 schools for free. Fill up all 10. You can add all 10 to that list. You know, you don't want to have to go back in and add a school if at all possible. I think another mistake is students don't start the FAFSA early enough. The FAFSA opens up October of every year. You can get that thing started early. The earlier you finish it, there are some funds, some government funds that are on a first come, first served basis. So if you get it done in October, you'll be able to access those funds. So I think those are a lot of the common mistakes. Another common mistake is students will often, because of their at-home situation, sometimes a student actually qualifies as what's called an independent student because they either have a child or they are emancipated from their family. They qualified as an independent student, or sometimes because their parents aren't married or they're living with one parent or another parent, that will cause you to have to fill out your FAFSA a certain way. So you want to make sure you call that FAFSA helpline so you can get help from a professional on how to complete your FAFSA. So I would say those are all the common mistakes, but all of those can be avoided by just using that FAFSA helpline, or you can follow me on Instagram at Fred Johnson IV. You can DM me if you have questions about FAFSA. Definitely let me know. But that FAFSA helpline is also a chat. Don't hesitate to use that thing. There's a lot of good information.
This school year was my first time I actually found out the FAFSA, and everybody kind of made the FAFSA, a little scary thing to it. But even though it's a process, but it's a worth it process, because you're gonna be able to get a lot of funding out of filling out the FAFSA. And I remember I submitted, I'm not sure the day, I think I probably submitted my FAFSA October 14th, 15th. So I was able to submit mine early on. And it's key. The earlier you submit your FAFSA, the better. Because as Fred mentioned, they are first come, first serve grants and different scholarships and different money that you can receive. So once you fill out your thing early, you're going to be able to receive those money. And then also, I heard that you also from watching one of your Instagram videos, you mentioned work study. So I want you to speak on the work study relating to filling out your FAFSA.
Yeah, work study is great. Essentially, it's an on-campus job, but there's a few different types of work study. So just to break it down real quick, you have federal work study and you have departmental work study. You also have what's called community work study. So federal work study is when the government pays an office at your school to have student workers. Essentially they your office gets money from the government to employ to employ you to pay for your employment. And so this could be places like the cafeteria, the student union, the gym, the library, pretty much just about every office on campus is going to have a student worker. Then you have departmental work study. So these are same offices on campus, but they actually have taken money out of their budget to pay for a student worker. So that money isn't coming from the government, it's coming from money within that office's budget. That's what I was able to take advantage of. I worked in the registrar's office, and I also worked in accounts payable when I was on campus at the University of New Orleans. Then you have something called community work study. That's when the federal government will pay for you to go work in the community, usually in a school as a tutor, but you can take advantage of all those. Now you have to be eligible for the federal work study or community work study, but the departmental work study, anybody can take advantage of that as long as there's an office on campus who is hiring student workers. And the way I found my job, literally, I had a stack of my resumes, about 10 little copies of my resume. And I went to each office on campus, knocked on the door, spoke to whoever was at the front desk, introduced myself, asked if they were hiring student workers. And if they said yes, gave them a copy of my resume. Did that all over campus. And eventually that's when I stumbled upon the position in accounts payable. So if you want it bad enough, you can go get it. And the work study job is about one of the easiest jobs you can have on campus. You're usually going to be filing papers, answering the phone, working the front desk, light work. And you can usually get your homework done while you're there. They give you flexibility during finals and midterms, where you can kind of flex your hours closer to that time. And to me, it's a lot better than working fast food or working in a grocery store, because sometimes those places aren't forgiving when it comes to your school schedule. A work study job, they'll be flexible with your funds and with your work schedule when you get closer to midterms and finals, or even if you just have a test where you're like, I really need to study for that test. You can talk with your supervisor and they can say, all right, you can take this day off, but then you can make up the hours next week. So there's a lot more flexibility. So I think every student, once, and I know we're going to get to this in a second, once you know you mastered the academic habits, or in a good place academically, then you should pursue work study. If you haven't gotten on top of your grades, I would not jump right into an on-campus job right away.
Thank you so much for that. And I know you mentioned academic habits, which will lead us into our sixth question for today. What are some academic habits students should master in order to graduate from college?
Yeah, great question. People hear about these all the time, but I want to talk about one that is not an academic habit, but I think it is the foundation of where I see every student either be successful or not be successful. You have to know why you're in college. I think there's a lot of students that are in college that are there because somebody told them they should go. I know not everybody's going to know exactly what they want to do, exactly what career they want to go into, but you have to understand, what purpose does college serve in my life? Even if you're still trying to figure out what it is you want to do, what purpose does college serve in my life? Is this going to help me attain a financial goal? Is this going to help me create a better life for my family? Is this going to help me get a job that allows me to have a better impact on my community, in the world at large? You have to really seek that out. Not expecting everybody to know the answer to that as a first-year college student, but you have to constantly seek. And for those of you that are spiritual, you got to pray on that. You got to pray on that. And I would hope by the end of your freshman year, you have a lot more clarity around why you're in college. Because when you're sitting in that class and you have that professor that isn't great at teaching, or you're not doing as well as you want, you got to come back to your why. Your why is so important. So I would say, as a foundation, your why. Now, if we get to the academic habits, again, these are ones that students have heard before, but I'm going to kind of give some quick tips on how do you make some progress, or how do you solidify these academic habits. So one is, you got to learn to advocate for yourself. In high school, you're used to teachers saying, hey, you got to study for this. Make sure you come after school. Reminder, test tomorrow. In college, it doesn't work like that. You get a syllabus, and you're lucky if your teacher gives you any extra credit. That's rare in college that you get extra credit. It's rare in college that you get a study guide, and it's rare in college that you get reminders. If you have a professor that does it, great, but chances are you won't. So you got to learn to advocate for yourself. When you don't know something, you got to speak up. When you have questions, you got to speak up. Go to office hours, y'all. This was one thing I didn't do because I was intimidated, I was afraid, and I thought I didn't need it because I did well in high school. Even if you don't think you need to go to office hours, meet with professors. For those of you that don't know what office hours are, it is time set aside specifically to meet with students in a given course or class. So your professor has to have office hours where they meet with you. You can schedule time to talk with them. Go to office hours. These next two are really key. One being time management. And I would say prioritize your time. Not necessarily managing your time, but prioritize your time. If you prioritize academics, then a lot of your time should reflect you doing things that'll push you forward academically. If you do like me and you prioritize being social and you put the academics on the back burner, then that will also have consequences. College is not like high school where you cram it all in. You can do things last minute. I tried to convince myself that I work better under pressure. No, it's not that you work better under pressure. Your brain is forced to think more efficiently because you have less time. You're fully capable of doing that same work 2 and 3 weeks out from that assignment date. And then the last one is study skills. Nobody ever teaches students how to study. It's like, how do you study for a test? It's different from class to class, subject to subject, and student to student. But the first thing you got to figure out is, how do you learn? Are you somebody that's more hands-on? Are you somebody that's more visual? You got to understand how you learn so that you understand how you study. I think the next thing is you have to understand that studying is a cycle. Studying is not this thing that you do one night and then you're good to go. Studying is a cycle, and it involves taking notes. It involves asking questions. It involves creating a test for yourself, meeting in study groups, doing little assignments in the back of the book. It involves doing all of those things. So you really have to develop a study cycle for yourself. And every class is different. Every class won't require hours and hours of studying, but you have to understand what it takes to be successful in a class. And I would start with talking with your professor, linking up with a group of students, and paying attention to how things are asked in the book. Because 9 times out of 10, the test will be a reflection of what's in the book. Oh, and of course, doing homework. That's another form of studying. So those are, I think, just some quick hits around academic habits that every student has to master in order to be successful in college.
And those are just very amazing in order to master. And I just wanted to speak on the why. Because when it comes to why, I always say this: a strong enough why is going to help you do anything. Once your why is strong enough to, why am I in college? Why am I creating videos? Why am I educating kids? It will help you do everything, through the good days, the bad days, the obstacles. Sometimes when you frustrated, when you want to give up, that why is going to help you through everything. Because you're going to remember, when the finals coming up and you're just stressing completely and you feel like dropping out, you're going to remember, I'm here because I want to open up this organization, because I want to be impactful to kids' lives. That's strong enough why is going to help you do anything that you face, whether it's college, in the real world. Just the strong enough why can help you do anything.
Absolutely right. If you have a strong enough why, it will push you through the toughest moments of your life. That's for sure.
Yes, it definitely will. And one key thing that I always like to highlight is that being a teacher, not only that you teach a student, but also your students teach you, which will lead us to our 7th question for today. What do your students teach you on a daily basis?
My students keep me grounded, man. I'm not an old person. I'm only 33, but a lot of my students are in their teens or are in their early 20s. And something that they remind me of is you never stop dreaming big. Like anytime I talk to them, they're still in a period of their life where they can dream big. And not that you can't at any point in your life, but when you're in that age, you don't have as many priorities, and you also, things seem further away, but you're still in a place where you can dream big. You haven't experienced so much of life where you start from a deficit of how things are going to be so hard, right? And it's great to stay in that ambitious, abstract mindset. Of course, you want to get concrete at some point so you could know exactly how to get there. But my students keep me grounded. They keep me inspired because I realized the privilege I had growing up. I had both my parents. I had one of those parents who graduated college. I never had to worry about food not being on a table. You know, my parents, they helped, they paid for private schooling. They stressed education, and talking to my students, not everybody grows up like that. Now, of course, I had some challenges too, but nothing compared to some of the students that I work with who have had to be a parent to their younger siblings, who have gone days without eating, you know, who their parent or guardian doesn't value education, and in some cases are holding them back from going to college by not giving that financial information, or taking advantage of some of the loans that they get. So they keep me grounded, they keep me inspired, and they continue to push me forward and make me want to impact more students doing this work, because I really want students to understand that they have the power, they have that control. And anything, and I know it sounds so cliche, but literally anything that they want to achieve in their life, if they have a game plan, they can get it done. And my students bring me back all the time to remembering the importance of the work I do and the urgency of the work I do.
That is just so key, because I know that they're continuing to inspire you, and I know that gotta help during the days where you're having your tough times. You just know that with students, they don't really care what you're going through, not in a bad sense, but in a good way. They
Right.
want to have that fun. They want to have that time with you, and I know that gotta be helping you on those days that you just don't feel it. But then when you come in that room, they know that they're not worried about your problem. They just worry about you teaching them. They're worrying about learning, and they're definitely just focused on what they're doing. So I know that got to be an inspiration for you.
Oh, for sure. I had a few students graduate from college in the past month. And when I tell you there's no greater feeling than realizing you had a part in their success. I don't claim a huge part of it, but I like to think I did something along their journey to help them to be successful. And even for those students that are not in college, I try to make sure that there's something that I contribute to in a positive way that gets them a little bit closer to their goal. I actually was texting back and forth with a student today that I hadn't had contact with in a while, and you'd be surprised what a text of, hey, I was thinking about you, how you doing, will do for you, right? Like you said, sometimes your students just come in looking to learn, and that will give you energy. Just giving in that way will help to give you energy. They don't necessarily have to give you anything in return. That's more than
Yes,
enough.
yes, it is. And question number 8: what is the biggest takeaway students can get from Ford Education?
Yeah, the biggest takeaway is set a goal, and then when you set that goal, multiply that goal times 100. Because I think what I realize is that I think too small. Sometimes we think too small because we're afraid. One, I think we're afraid of what it's going to take to achieve ambitious goals. I think the other thing is sometimes we don't see enough examples of people like ourselves doing that thing, but sometimes you need to be the first. You need to be the person to break the mold. And then when you set ambitious goals, it really forces you, if you're really committed to it, it forces you to discipline yourself. So the biggest thing that fourth education has to teach any student is set a goal, multiply it times 100, and then commit everything to going chase that goal. Go and get that goal, because even if you don't hit that goal, you'll go way further, way past the goal that you originally set.
And I've heard that before, and I'm trying to remember exactly who I heard that from, but I agree. I agree with that. Like, just set your goal so high that even if you don't reach the goal, you're gonna be farther than you originally thought you're gonna originally thought where you're gonna be at. And that's just key. And that's one thing that I implement in my life. I have so many like different type of goals. I have to, because I break them down, because I have my personal goals, my career
Mm-hmm.
goals, my religious goals, my school goals. I have different goals, and I always just set them high, and just make sure that I just got that fuel behind me, that we're gonna complete it, when reach these goals to the highest place as we can. And one interesting thing that I've seen people debate about over the years is that, is college important? Should all
Mm.
students go to college? I feel like you're the perfect person to ask this question. Question number 9. When it comes to the topic of college, do you believe that all students should go to college?
If you would have asked me this question 4 years ago, I would tell you, Esron, every kid, every student has to go to college. If you're not thinking about college, we need to have a serious conversation. But I do not believe that every student needs to go to college, that college is a requirement for every student to be successful. I do think, though, education is required for every single student, every person to be successful. If you ever get to a point in your life where you stop educating or stop seeking out education, that's going to be the moment you stop growing. That's going to be the moment that it's a lot harder to hit your goals. So when I say education, that could come in many forms. That could come through reading books. That could come from listening to podcasts. That could come from a formal education, like going to college or getting into a certification program. But you're going to have to continue your education. It could come from getting a coach, or getting a coach, or getting someone to kind of train you, getting a trainer. But you're going to have to educate yourself in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur. This is something I tell all of my students that say they want to start a business, because I'm in year 2 of my business. If you think you're going to be able to do it by just watching YouTube and following people on Instagram, you're not. Will you get some nuggets that could push you forward? Yeah, you'll get some good stuff, but you need a coach. You need somebody who's done what you want to do and who's going to teach you how to do it. And a lot of coaches, they don't have free programs. They might have free master classes, free webinars, but they're only going to give you enough to get started. You're going to have to pay for your education. You're going to have to pay to be coached. And so I tell them, in business, you're going to pay in time, or you're going to pay in money, or you're going to pay in both. And the more time it takes you to get your business to be successful, which could you do it just watching YouTube and just learning on your own? Yeah, but it's going to take you a lot longer to get there. You need a coach. I'm on my 3rd coach right now. When I first started Fourth Education, I had a coach that just was teaching me business and how to start it up and how to figure out where to focus. Then I started working with Mike Nelson, who was my speaker coach. And now I'm working with Toria Vision Avant, who's a book coach. She helps people to make profitable books. And so after I finish that, I'm going to get another coach. And so you have to, and I've paid for all of these things. So you're going to have to invest in yourself, and you're going to have to seek out some form of education. Like I said, whether it's reading books, listening to podcasts, going to college or a certificate program, or getting a coach. You're never going to be at a point where you should stop formally or informally educating yourself. It may or may not be college.
I agree with that statement. Even though I'm going to be going to college, I do not personally believe that college is for everybody. Because a lot of the careers now that's being created, you actually do not need a college degree for. Like back in the days, there's a lot of things. I think the reason why that was out there, because back in the days it was morally needed, because you don't have the amount of jobs that now that you don't require an education for. So I kind of think like that's where that mentality of everybody need to go to college for. But there's a lot of things that you can do out here. Like you don't need a degree in order to become a YouTuber. You don't necessarily need a degree to do public speaking, to edit videos, to be a graphic designer. If you want to go to college for those things, you definitely can. They have majors and minors in those areas. But if you just want to do it on your own, you can get a coaching. You can get coaching, you can get mentors, you could do different programs. You can definitely do that. But I do agree that never stop learning. Make sure that you're learning, whether it's from podcasts, books. Just make sure that you will continue to learn, because the day you stop learning, it's a problem. It's just a problem, because you have to continue to learn, because we as humans, we got to continue to learn, continue to grow, continue to evolve. And as you learn and as you grow, you just pour that into the people around you, whether it's kids, whether it's your family, whether it's different students. You just continue to pour that learning into everybody. With me, my personal decision to go to college, which actually changed, because going into high school, I had no interest in college, not even a little bit. I remember in middle school, we were going on college trips, and I just kept saying in my head, I'm not going to college anyways. Like, why y'all trying to make me go on these trips? Like, I was devoted. I was dedicated on not going to college.
Mhm.
But by my sophomore year, the idea of opening up my own organization started to come to my head. And I started to look to see how beneficial with me getting a college degree and with me networking and doing certain things. I'm like, you know what, Esron, college will be a good fit for you. So that was a personal decision that I made in my sophomore year. Didn't exactly know it was gonna be business, but then I'm like, leadership and management is for me because I want to learn how to run everything. I want to learn how to be the leader of a company, how to manage it properly. So me personally, I don't have to go to college in order to do what I want to do. It's a choice that I made because I feel like I'll be in a better direction because I'm going to be able to network better, be in contact with certain people that's going to be able to help me reach that goal. But if you want to do that and you just want to do it based on have coaching or the internet, you definitely can. And just make sure that you have a goal and just have something that you want to do if you don't go to college, whether it's trade school, whether you're going to the military, whether you open up your own side business, whether you're working, the different things you can do. College is not the main thing. You can do what you want to do just as long as you have a goal, you have a vision, and you're doing something that you love, that you're passionate about. Go ahead.
There you go. Great advice. Great advice.
And this will lead us into our very last question for the day. What are some advice that you would give to
Great
students?
question. Great question. Again, this is something I tell every single student because I think about when I was your age and what thoughts I was having, what things I was thinking about, and where my focus was. And I had tunnel vision, but it was on the wrong things. I think I focused too much on school, academics, and school is important, but I wasn't really doing these two things. Well, one thing mainly, read. You got to read, and there's two types of books you should read. I think every month, every day, however often you want to do it, but every week you should be reading one of these two books, well, three books if you're spiritual. So for sure, your Bible. You want to be digging into your Bible. You want to be growing yourself spiritually. That's something that once I met my then girlfriend, now wife, started to really invest more time in faith and think about how that helped me grow, how that helped me overcome struggles. And when I reflect on any time I've had major success in my life, it's been when I've been the most spiritually disciplined and locked in. So read your Bible, create, whether that, if you're somebody that does that better in groups, join a Bible study group. If you're somebody that likes watching YouTube, find the way that you best receive the word and embrace that and engage in that as often as you can. The second type of book that you got to make sure you read is books on personal development, how to become a better person. If there's an area of your life where you've been struggling, there's probably a book. I won't say probably, there is a book where somebody has written that can help you grow or address that area in your life. If there's a skill you want to develop, somebody has written a book that teaches you how to develop that skill. If you're somebody that doesn't like reading physical books, like myself, which I've been pushed by my book coach to physically read books, so I'm going to be getting back into that because she says it's something about the opening of a book, the flipping of a page, the highlighting of words that helps in the brain, that helps things just connect a little bit more. But if you're somebody like myself who prefers audiobooks, who prefers to kind of listen while they're driving, listen while they're cooking or multitasking, as long as you're reading something on personal development, something that's going to help you to become a better person. A few books that have really helped me are Relentless by Tim S. Grover. He's the former trainer of Michael Jordan. Great book. If you're anybody that's into sports, it's not just a sports book though, but it's a really good book. The second type of book, the third type of book that I think everybody has to read, has to make time to read, is read books about money. Read books about money. Because if you at your age, 18, 19, 20, if y'all can learn about money, you can learn how to manage it better and you can learn how to invest it better. Man, I'm telling you, if I could go back to my 20s and I knew then what I know now about money, at a minimum, I'd be making 6 figures from a passive income alone and would have the option to retire or keep working. I think a lot of times when we think about people being wealthy, I'll be real with you. When we think of that word wealthy, a lot of times we think of white people. And a lot of times we think of people that are born into wealth. But a lot of times people who are wealthy aren't born into it. They own businesses and they invest. If you know how money works and you learn how to invest it so that it makes money for you, there's a number of different ways to do it. You know, I'm a fan of real estate myself, but there's crypto, there's stocks, there's bonds, there's drop shipping, there's all kind of different things that you can do to generate passive income for yourself. Read about money though. And I would start with one of these 3 books. I would start with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, start with Think and Grow Rich, or start with From the Trash Man to the Cash Man. Those 3 books they've transformed the way I think about money. And I've adopted a few principles from those books that I'm implementing now. So I would say that would be my advice for any young person is read. I know you're you're in school and usually when you're forced to read something, it's not because you enjoy it. So find a book about self-help, find a book about money that you would enjoy reading or that you're interested in reading. Or again, it could be a podcast, it could be a YouTube channel. Start anywhere, but start investing time in your spirituality, your personal self, and your finances by reading and educating yourself. And I guarantee you, if you just took one thing from each of those books and you implemented it over the course of the next 5 to 10 years, your life is going to be way different. I think sometimes there's the myth of you got to read 1 million books or you got to read a book every month or a book every week. You don't. You got people that read a lot of books and don't implement one principle from each book. I would rather have you read one book 12 times and each month you implement a new principle rather than you read 12 books over the course of a year and you don't implement any of the principles with discipline or success. So read books, read the Bible, read books about personal development, read books about money, implement some kind of principle, and then move on to the next book or read the book or listen to the book again. And I guarantee you will, in your 30s, in the next 10 years, you'll be on a whole different playing field.
I have 2 books right now that I'm about to get because I'm so glad you mentioned the book because I have 2 books right now that I want to. These right here are my 3 books. So the first book is Touch Point for Men. I'm not sure if you can see that, but Touch Point for Men is so it says God answers God's answers for your every needs. And in this book it has a bunch of different topics relating to men, the different struggles that you go through, and it gives you not only scriptures from the Bible, but it also gives you different advice and different opinions when it comes to certain topics. So to me, this is like a really good Bible because sometimes when you're trying to look through the Bible, okay, what does the Bible says about blame? What's the Bible said about brokenness? This actually breaks it down. And have an alphabetical order from adultery to anger to attitude to authority to blame to brokenness to business, the call of God. It breaks down all of those key topics and it gives you the scriptures from the Bible. And this is more like my personal growth app because a different struggle that I could be experiencing. I go in the book, look for that title, say if I'm struggling with compassion. No, actually commitment. Say if I'm struggling with commitment, learning how to commit. You go on page 40. Let me actually find page 40 right now. You go on page 40. As you can see, actually, I underline them, but it gives you the scriptures and different thoughts and everything. So this is like my personal development book. And then obviously you have the OG Bible itself. And you have the sticker inside. This is self-explanatory, so I'll move on. And then I have this big book called Experiencing the Spirit, which big shout out to my mentor, Javed. He bought me this book where it breaks down the Holy Spirit and who he is and the different attributes and different aspects of the Holy Spirit. So these are like the 3 books that I'm constantly in learning. So we have the personal development, the Bible, and then we have the Experience in the Spirit, which really breaks down the Holy Spirit more to you. So these are like the 3 books that I use to learn more. Now I gotta add the money book in there. I don't have the money book yet, but I would definitely look into get me into the money book. But these are the 3 books that I use for my growth.
I got one more book for you and every other soon to be college student to add to their list. I'm actually coming out with my book. It'll be released this August. It's called Me, Myself, and Grind, 10 foundational keys to graduate from college. So it's coming out this fall. If you want to pre-order it, you can go to memyselfandgrindbook.com, memyselfandgrindbook.com. What it'll do is, again, it'll focus on the foundational keys and steps that you need to take to be able to graduate from college. This is the stuff that nobody tells you. This is the stuff, again, I have over 10 years of experience in secondary and higher ed. I work with college students every day. I got my own personal college journey. These are the things that nobody tells you, but these are the things that creep up and stop a lot of students from being able to graduate from college. So if y'all, again, another book to add to that, Me, Myself, and Grind, 10 foundational keys to graduate from college.
And just before we go, the advice that I would have for any student is that find what you love. Find the thing that you love. Don't worry about what everybody else think about it. Just find what you love to do and do it. If you love to create videos, go create them videos. You can there's videos online where you can learn about different editing softwares, different cameras and things like that. Just whatever you love to do it, because your talent, because with learn about what you love to do, you're gonna find your talent and you're gonna find your gift. And once you find your talent and you find your gift, it's gonna lead you to what you want to do. Cause my original idea, I just wanted to be a speaker, but then that led me into videography. That led me into being an editor, being a preacher, being a motivational speaker. That just one goal of speaking led me into a whole bunch of different things that I now do. Because I record my videos myself. I edit my videos myself. All the graphic design and the design and stuff on my channel, I do that myself, and I also get help here. Also get help. Big shout out to Stace with the new branding and everything. The different talents and the different structure of what I do, my dream led me into doing that. So just find what you love. It's going to lead you to your talent and gift, and that's going to lead you to your dream. And don't forget to have a strong enough why. Once you find out what you want to do, make sure you have that why. So as you continue going through the struggles, the different obstacles, the journey of getting to that place you want to get, you're going to remember, I'm doing this because I love this. I'm doing this because I'm passionate about this. And your passion is going to lead you to so many places. Because I could just think, I'm like, imagine if I quit YouTube my first year. Imagine if I would have just quit my first year. A lot of the relationships I built, a lot of the opportunities I got, a lot of the people that I met, a lot of things would not be the same if I would have quit YouTube my first year. So just continue to work at it. I know there's going to be a hard time, but just trust in God, trust in his process. Because one thing that I learned is that God takes his time with your dream. And the reason why is because there's a lot of lessons that you need to learn. There's mistakes that you need to make in order to get to that place that you want to get. So whilst you're seeing everybody else already at that place that you want to be, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Because just know that God is he's with you and he's keeping you. Just don't compare your journey to everybody else's journey, because we all have different journeys. We all have a different path. Even if you go into the exact same career, the exact same path, everybody have a different journey towards that path. So be patient with yourself, trust in God, and just understand that the longer it takes, the more rewarding it's going to be at the end.
That's great advice, man. You keep coming with the gems.
I have to. These are different things that like my mentors and my leaders teach me. So I just teach it back, and I pour it back into everybody. And Frederick, I just had to let you know, thank you so much for being a part of today's today's video. Thank you so much. All of this information will be in the description below. Make sure you guys pre-order. The book is coming out in August. Pre-order the book. The link to that will be below. If you have any questions relating to FAFSA, college, having different advice, make sure that you hit him on Instagram in the DMs. And also my social medias and everything will be in the description below. So make sure that you not only check him out, but also just stay tuned for the different videos and everything that I have going on. This will not be the last time you will see the two duo for a forward education and motivation for young Christians together. This will definitely not be the last time. Do you have anything else before we go?
Just appreciate what you're doing. Y'all continue to support. And I look forward to us collaborating in the future.
Thank you guys so much for watching this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for coming back. If you haven't already, like the video, subscribe if you're new. Please turn on your post notification. That way, anytime I upload, YouTube will send you a notification. This is Motivation for Young Christian by Esron Holder. I'll see you guys in the next video.